Hello there, it's the 21st of December 2025 and the year is coming to a close. And in August I made a video and I disclosed my impressions of two important whistleblowers. If you go to my YouTube channel, Gordon Bryce, you will find my disclosure on them. They are Alex Collier and Marshall Vian Summers. I rated their work pretty highly. I didn't agree with everything that they were trying to expound, but generally the gist of their information I thought was valuable and interesting and should be considered as plausible. That is, they're trying to reveal what 70, 80 years of hidden information has been kept from us. They try to reveal the reasons why it's been kept hidden and what the content is and what's going on here on planet Earth. Just to remind you, Alex Collier had said that our planet Earth, is one of only 8 oxygen-rich planets in our Milky Way galaxy. There are apparently moons and small planets that have, simpler life and, oxygen available, but in a smaller quantity, not such well-developed ecosystems as ours. And therefore, both Alex and Marshall Vian Summers had said that our planet Earth is a rare gem in our galaxy, and therefore other species who may have used up their resources and have expanded out into space, as history shows that all expanding empires do, they expand into their space, that they came across planet Earth many thousands of years ago and are interested in our resources, and that includes us as well. Let's move on to today and let's look at two other important, in my estimation, whistleblowers. One is Goode, whom I've talked about in the past, and the other one is Elena Danaan. So I'll start off on Goode and I'll run through some important information that's come through just recently. And here I have to look at some notes. On 22nd November this year, Goode and his family released a podcast called Beyond Disclosure, the Goode File. And in this release, he tries to explain how his whole life situation developed over the years and how he came to understand that he had travelled in this secret space program or was recruited into it. Now, this is available to buy, and I recommend that you buy it because I think Corey comes across as an honest person. And David Wilcock is also in this, and I think both of them together deserve a lot of credit. And a lot of people have tried to, blacklist them and put them down and said they're a load of rubbish. So that's not true. Doesn't mean to say that they're all correct in every detail, but this is how disclosure goes. It's not plain sailing. There's lots of rough passages, and I know this myself. So, Jason Wan Lin is the director of this film. James Pollock is the director of photography. Kylie Cooper is the producer. Michael Waskowski, David Wilcock, and James Gilliland are content contributors. Corey reveals his whole story, and we get to meet his family and see what they have had to put up with and how they managed to navigate the choppy waters in their life up to the end of summer 2025. Mr. Goode, born about 1970-71, he doesn't give his date of birth, describes his early life. He said that as a youngster, he had strong intuitions, could read people's emotions, and he was a bit rebellious. His early life was disruptive because his parents divorced or separated when he was young. However, they were brought up in a Christian background, and he they also had some military background to their family. He joined the Texas State Guard Command Communication and Intelligence Unit as a teenager, aged about 17. He went up to the Southern Nazarene University at Oklahoma, a Christian college. There he met his wife Stacy, and I think it was love at first sight, I believe. And Stacy had revealed to Corey that her grandfather was a preacher in Scotland, called a minister. And she says that she could talk to her grandfather in the spirit world, that she also had some psychic ability. Anyway, the two pair up and they get married. I think at this part in Corey's testimony, it's very genuine and comes across as very sincere. It's a typical, fairly working class American family. They're trying to reach a happy material standard, bring children into the world, trying to do the best they can. They have two grown-up teenagers now. One is Marissa, and the other one is Connor. They are interviewed in the film, and they come across as telling the truth from their perspective. The director of this film, Jason Owen Lynn, admits he is skeptical of much of the UFO phenomenon and the paranormal. He makes it clear that he needs to be convinced, but he believes that Corey Goode's story is well worth telling, that there's an interesting content to it, and it's unusual. In my own case, after my own experiences, I too was very much interested in further exploring the field. And in 2015 and 16, I came across Corey Goode's work. I wasn't completely sure of the truth of his testimony, but I felt there were strong parts to it. The way he could tell it, he was a very good narrator. And as I said in a previous podcast I made, later on, the director, Jay Widener, tried to trip up Corey and contradict him, but he couldn't. So Corey's story is fluent, it's concrete, and the early parts especially don't have any glitches on them. Later on, there are some. I'll come on to that later. Now, I'll show a short section of this film that's just been released.
Hello! Beyond Disclosure, the Corey Goode Files is now available. It's on Amazon Prime. You can watch it right now. Check out the link in the description. We also want to show you a quick clip of the documentary. Like I said, we're very happy with the way it turned out. We are able to tell our story for the first time, my family and me. I discuss my entire evolution of becoming a public figure, and we cover everything from our rise to fame, going viral, the paranormal experiences my family was having the entire time, the cyber stalking, the lawsuits. Those are covered some, but it's really a focus on the journey that me and my family have gone through. So enjoy this clip, and please go to Amazon Prime now, rent or buy. It's available internationally now, so we will be bringing in other languages. It's only in English for now, but we will be bringing in over the next weeks and months other languages. So thank you so much for your support. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to tell my side of the story of the craziness that we've gone through. And I hope you share this with friends and family. Thank you. Syndicate. Companies at the top, people who control radio shows and all of that, they control the narrative. If you don't walk the line, if you don't preach what they want you to preach, then they blacklist you and destroy you.
What's interesting about Corey is he's seen some things that were pretty traumatic, and I think it's hard for him to talk about a lot of it. And that's why I think he's authentic, because he doesn't want to be there.
Part 2. Going back to James's film in 2012-2013, Corey explained that he and Stacey were both out of work 2012-13 and going through a rough patch in their marriage. He emphasised that he was goofing around with his young son one day, and accidentally his young son poked him in the eye and detached his retina. Because of this, he had to go into the eye hospital, and the ophthalmologist who examined him said that, "Hey, Corey, you've got astronaut's eye." An astronaut's eye is when the muscle in the eye changes form because you've been in zero gravity, and it has an effect on the eye shape or muscle. I am not exactly sure what that means, but it is a real condition. Anyway, he had to come and go to the hospital on a regular basis for a couple of months to sort out this condition. And one day, as he was, being examined, and they were looking at his eye, the ophthalmologist put I have to stop there, sorry. The ophthalmologist had put an analgesic into his eye to, I don't know, it would be to numb the eye perhaps. Anyway, after this, suddenly a whole lot of confusing memories began to flood his mind. And it's at this point that he becomes disturbed. He has all these memories that he has no recall of, and suddenly they flood his mind about being out in space and about talking to ETs and being on other planets or other moons and traveling on a spaceship, etc., etc. Stacey at this point in the video admits that she was a bit worried about him. Corey goes on to explain that he's brought into the special program, space program, at age 7. Once he recovers his memory. And he had been inducted into this program because I think one of his grandfathers was linked to the military, and the family line were followed down. And they thought that maybe from school reports that Corey was a good subject for being an intuitive empath, that he could understand people very quickly and had some dormant psychic ability perhaps. And they tested him. The American military at this time, so I guess this would be about the late 70s, they were interested in finding children who could communicate with the various ETs that they had captured. Different ET groups were conducting experiments here on Earth, and the Air Force, the Navy, and the Army had caught some of them and interrogated them. The government intelligence agencies attached to these secret programs found out that a few of the captured ETs were living here on planet Earth. At this point, Mr. Goode reports that a deal was made with the captured ETs. So it's like, okay, we're here. We've caught you. We know you're not from here, but we'll let you stay. I'll give you a small base, but you're going to have to tell us how we can adapt and use your technology, because we have gotten hold of your technology, but we want to know exactly how it works. So I think it worked like this in the States, America being possibly the area of most activity for this phenomenon. Goode goes on to explain that the spaceships, saucers, and odd flying vehicles driven by the negative groups, those working against humanity, and here there are, as I said, there are positive, negative, and neutral groups. There are many groups here, that the negative groups were eventually driven off by a space program called Solar Warden. So it's a bit like a special border patrol. So they, as I said in previous podcasts, they go out into space, they are armed, they interject and interrogate other ETs passing through our system, and they ask them to leave. I don't know exactly how that works. I guess there must be a stop and identify yourself. A bit like how it works with the Navy sometimes, I believe. So they may threaten them and say, okay, if you don't identify yourself, we're going to blast you out, out and kill you all. So it works something like this, I believe. Corey describes one memory wipe technique that he discovered as he recovered his memories, and it's called blank slating. This would be used to bury actual memories and fill in the gaps with false memories. It was the piercing of this program that enabled him to recall completely what had really happened to him between the ages of 17 and 37. This is where maybe his testimony begins to wander off a bit, because he says he was off planet for 20 years. And that there was a time jump where he goes into the future and then he comes back. This part is unclear, and I felt that this part of his testimony fell down a bit. It's not fully explained, and later on, he explains towards the end of his film that he released that he didn't tell all the truth about the journey into space through the Solar Warden program. On the 26th of March 2019, David and Corey, in a platform called the Sphere Being Alliance, what they do is they hold a conference and
pointing off to the side, and we look off and we see this, looks like a triangular giant blimp that has a big crease in it, like it had lost air and it had lost buoyancy. It was at an angle, and there were long tethers hanging from the corners of it, and it apparently had blown away or become loose somehow from the people that were holding it, tethering it down.
But this was one of these. Oh, I got really hot now. My mic is really hot. Sound guy? You got the wrong mic. You're trying to turn Corey up to turn me up. Okay. Look at those little lights, and they go up and down. You'll see which one it is. Anyway, what Corey was doing was he was seeing one of these flying black triangles, like the infamous TR-3B. Now, what was so interesting about this was that I already had heard through other insiders, like with the Phoenix Lights, one of the weirdest witness reports of the Phoenix Lights, you may remember this, Corey, was people are seeing this black triangle thing flying overhead. It appears to have all these rivets and machinery on the bottom, but some of the witnesses noticed that it was rippling, like it was made out of a fabric or something. So then you come in with this email, and we start to get more information on that.
Right.
And so they continue, and both of them are good at working the audience, and I think it was a good conference, lighthearted in parts. And David, I find, he's a kind of guy that mocks himself and makes jokes, and people, laugh at him and say, "Oh God, he's a crazy guy, this and that." But no, I think he himself is trying to deal with a very difficult subject, and he's brave enough to come forward and deliver it to an American and worldwide audience. But let's go on. I'll come back to this video, this 3-hour conference. It was a Dimensions of Disclosure conference, and it was in Ventura, California. And other speakers were there, Ben Chastain and Bob Counts. They holler and shout at the beginning of the show, and to get everybody worked up. This is very much the American fashion, and if you're from Britain, you'll know that any serious conference, there might be some jokes, but they don't work up that hollering enthusiasm as they do in America. Now, David claimed that Colley, as he said, wrote to him early in 2008, explaining that he was setting up this aerial antenna, and this event had happened. David decides to introduce Corey to Gaia TV through his contacts with Gaia TV. And Gaia TV at this point, so this is 2013-14, are doing the Cosmic Disclosure series. And at first, it was, I think, frustrating for them because they had to convince the guy, the producers at Cosmic Disclosure, that Corey Goode's story was really genuine, it wasn't made up. Anyway, they went for it, and Stacey, his wife, said that Corey and David were on the phone for many hours, and that when they did the filming, they did 8 episodes in 1 week, and it was like constant. It was really, they got a lot together in a very short period of time and released it quickly. Now, this is where Corey's testimony begins to take off, and he says that Gaia TV were worth about $1.5 million, on their credit rating. And later, he pushed up the price to $3.5 million for the corporation's value. And a dispute started over finances and how much Corey and David were going to get from this. And I think it all went to hell, and then Jay Widener decided to drop them. 26 minutes back into the video testimony that Corey's just released this November, he and James Gilliland says that our Earth has had a series of colonizations over many, many thousands of years, and many ET whistleblowers have said this. Alex Collier has said it, Marshall Ian Summers has mentioned it, Kerry Cassidy has mentioned it, other whistleblowers have also mentioned this. I would include Dr. Michael Sala, who's been also researching this for many years, and going all the way back to Eric van Daniken. The evidence is there that there are different technologies and amazing artifacts that have been left here on Earth that have come probably from somewhere else. Both Corey and David and James Gilliland think there's a grand experiment going on here on Earth. And here I would interject. If I were talking to them right now, I would suggest an experiment that has been messed up and confused, that the Human Genome Project has taken many unpredictable turns, And this brings us again to this difficult situation where we're warring with each other, and different groups are warring with each other over resources on planet Earth. It seems it's very hard for us to come together as a species, but really we're going to have to do that if we're going to survive the onslaught of interest that's coming from beyond our worlds. We need to find a pathway to unite humanity. Otherwise, these wars and these conflicts over resources, over land, over mineral and water rights, population excess, refugees, etc., are going to continue. So I believe that they are correct in this analysis. How are we to take Corey Goode's extensive testimony altogether? I had said that there are 5 categories that we can use as a framework. A is the truth. B is, well, it's certainly plausible. C is, well, it's borderline. Yeah, that's alpha is the truth. Beta is plausible. Epsilon was, well, very mixed up. It contained both true parts and parts that were outright lies or mistruths. So I have to say, despite a lot of Corey's work being good and correct, I think, or plausible at least, I can only give him an Epsilon, because I think he and David and his friends need to go away and filter out what is not correct, what is crept into this testimony that doesn't make sense or delves into areas of being featured in science fiction. So I urge you and encourage you to look at Corey's work and support him. I think he and his family have been through a lot, and I think he's just trying to recover his feet. When he was propelled to fame and went to Japan and Europe and South America, etc., and other parts of the States, there are some funny bits where he's approached by women who say you need sexual healing, and he definitely has a sense of humor, and I think his wife and his family have been very patient with him. Now I'm going to go on to Elena Danaan. Elena Danaan has been on the scene for 5 years, and to be frank with you, she is a complete enigma. I can't quite figure her out. Corey Goode had said near the top end of his exposure, the period when he had not gone into decline, had said that Elena Danaan was fake, that all her stuff was made up, that she was seeking fame and was posing like an actress. However, in response, Elena Danaan said that Corey had been messed up by the secret space program. And so there was some slandering and name-calling for a period of time. Michael Sala, Dr. Michael Sala, also interviewed Elena Danaan, and he was impressed by her at first. And Alex Collier has always stood up for Elena Danaan. Dr. Michael Sala came to regret his endorsement of her. He felt that she was also not telling the truth. I had, in some of her podcasts, I had written questions to her, and I have to say, about AI specifically, wanting further clarification, she blanked me out. She gave me no answer whatsoever, whereas she gave other answers to other whistleblowers. So there is a question mark over her. However, to be fair, I have to give her credit. She's a very good artist. She's fluent in French and in English. She has an interesting background. Her father was a footballer. She was born in Marseille. She was trained as an archaeologist. I think this is all correct. She studied in Egypt.
My name is Elena Danaan. I am an awakener. I came here to help and guide humanity reconnecting with their true nature and power, and embracing their sovereignty. I came from a place very far away from here, and, like many others, I chose as a mission of heart to come and help humanity of Earth in their great awakening. I was born into this existence from a long ancient line of Baltic shamans. I traveled this planet and worked many years as a field archaeologist, mainly in Egypt, working for the French and the Egyptian governments in Luxor, Karnak, Cairo, the Valley of the Kings, and Dendera. I was initiated there into the secrets and rituals of ancient Egyptian magic. And I followed later the path of the ancient Druids to complete my knowledge and the connection with the magic of the universe. Certified Druidess and Celtic priestess, I worked at service to the human community in Ireland until the day I embraced my mission fully as an awakener for the greater human community of Earth and an emissary of the Galactic Federation of Worlds. Contactee and experiencer since my earliest childhood, I share the knowledge I have learned from my extraterrestrial protectors for the benefit of humankind. I wrote A Gift from the Stars, a book that tells the story of my abductions at the age of 9 by aliens from Zeta Reticuli, and my rescue by benevolent extraterrestrials from the Galactic Federation of Worlds, who have been protecting me all my life, and with whom I remain in contact to this day. This book includes not only my true story, but also the complete repertoire of the alien races involved with Earth, a star map, where they come from, their different agendas, all the alliances, federations and councils, illustrated by myself. I am also the author of Resilience and the French fantasy saga Chandora.
She says that her mother was coming from Gotland, besides Sweden, her mother's family, and had married into French-speaking people. I must have migrated from that part of Sweden. And she says that through that Gotland ancestry, she had acquired the shamanistic skills. Now, sometimes there's a problem with people claiming all these what we call New Age skills and psychic skills, is I feel that it's a money earner for them. In her case, though, I'm not sure. Maybe she does have these skills. Later on, when she went to do further training, she said she went to Ireland to, I think it was County Kerry, and went on Tara Hill and met the Druids. And the Druids there had taught her Druidism. However, I have to say this is where I think there's a little bit of fantasy has crept in, because according to Julius Caesar, and we'll go to him as an authority, because when he invaded Gaul, he had to deal with the Druids, and the Romans knew something about the Celtic customs. Caesar reports, in, what was it, 60, 70 BC, that the Druids themselves, their training was 21 years. And the reason why it was very extensive is they were the law keepers of the tribe. They functioned at religious and sacred site ceremonies. They would appear as peacemakers between intertribal disputes. And they had knowledge of other cultures, other traditions. They kept the calendar, the old Celtic calendar, which I believe, from my own studies, was connected to the phases of the moon, and the longest night of the year and the longest day in summertime. They knew all about this, so the basic knowledge of astronomy and astrology. And then they would maybe have other secret traditions that we've never been exposed to. I believe there were no Druids left in the world. And anyone who's kept on to the Druidic knowledge, I believe it's passed into the Christian Celtic Church. And there it's kept quiet. It's not exposed. And it's probably there as a memory. It's been assimilated into the church teachings through St. Columba and the other Christian saints that migrated from Ireland. And perhaps also in Spain and France, there are traces of Druidic wisdom. So I felt that she was exaggerating a bit here. Now, she goes on to explain about her kidnapping with the Greys, and she was rescued by a tall guy, 7 feet tall, and he's got long blonde hair, and he's very handsome, and she was connected to him in a past life, and she makes a whole story out of this. And later on, he teaches her about the Andromeda Council, and it's a collection of space people in our galaxy that a kind of a military advisory trading group that try to keep peace in our galaxy. And her advisors tell her that soon Earth will be brought into this group. So she's going along with this idea. She thinks it's a good idea. And then she brings forward an Encyclopedia Galactica, where she describes the ET races. And one of them, in that book, I have to say, I had a confrontation with, so I know at least that part of her work is correct. I would give her work, to be fair, there's been a little slander about her, and I'm not going to talk about that, but I would give her work both a beta category, a gamma and a delta and an epsilon. I think sometimes all these categories in one podcast or one book are mixed together. So I'm giving her some benefit, but I'm also questioning some of her work. She's claiming to be like the representative for the Galactic Council now on Earth, and she's put herself up on a pedestal a little bit, I believe, and at times I feel it just feels exaggerated and hyperbolic. But you need to judge her for yourself, and I would go to her websites, her information. She's Danaan.org organization. She's on Telegram. There's a lot of information out about her, so her and her team have been very productive, and if she gets hold of this video and looks at it, I would advise her to go back and look what other people are saying, especially Marshall V. N. Summers. He's saying we have to be careful. We must not yet be assimilated into other groups. We need more experience about what's going on in the universe, and here we just, as a species, have not had enough experience yet. Thank you for listening, and I wish you a very Merry Christmas, and sorry for the stops and starts on this video, but it's quite a lot of material to go through, and I hope you got to the end. And please comment, share. It's just not a big, I don't have a lot of people following me, but that's okay. My message is seeping through slowly but surely. Looking forward to the new year. See you later.